everybody. Thank you for being here. Thank you to the Chainlink Labs team for inviting me back to SmartCon. I love this event. It's one of my favorites of the past couple of years, and so it's great to be back to talk to you here in person. Also, those of you online, I know we had a lot of fun last year, and so we will continue, hopefully, to have fun this year. So the title of my slide, as I do often, I made the title before I made the presentation, and so we veer off a little bit. It's not exactly only about Web2 data and Web3 games, and I hope that you will forgive me for that. But I wanted to take the opportunity to talk about games in the space. I had to take a few steps back and think about where we are as an industry, where we are as crypto and the market and the cycle and the global and all this, and think a little bit about games and why they matter. Because Infinity Keys is fundamentally a games platform. We're infrastructure. That's why I feel like Chainlink people will get this. If you get Chainlink, you get infrastructure, you're going to get Infinity Keys, because at its core, it's infrastructure. Now, it's not technical infrastructure like Chainlink and all the wonderful things Sergey talked about. Come on in, plenty of room, y'all can come in. It's social and gaming infrastructure, and that is incredibly important at this point. And before I kind of leap into what Infinity Keys is and how it works and all those little things, we'll get there eventually, I want to tell a couple of stories that illustrate why games are important, and more importantly, why good games are important. This right here, this is my driving mandate: make good games. I think this is an incredibly important, simple statement, but let me tell you a couple of stories. I'll date myself a little bit, but in the mid-90s, there was this video game system called the PlayStation 1. Anybody? Yeah. And there was a game that came out, Metal Gear Solid. Anybody? And in one of the boss fights, it was against a villain called Psycho Mantis. And when you fight Psycho Mantis, you can't hit him. He knows all your moves. You're swinging punches, you're swinging kicks, you're trying to shoot him, you're rolling, you're dodging, and it is this incredibly frustrating experience. But over the course of the fight, he's dropping these hints. He's talking trash to you. You get messages from outside dropping these hints to eventually reveal that in order to beat Psycho Mantis, you have to go to the PlayStation box. You have to unplug the controller, because controllers were plugged in back then. You had to unplug it from port 1 and plug it into port 2. Y'all remember this? Now, once you've moved it to port 2, Psycho Mantis can't read your mind, and you can kick his ass, and you do. Now, I'm in high school, and I've been a gamer for a very long time, but when this happened, my mind was blown with the possibilities. We can take the mechanics of games and create these experiences that make people realize that more is possible. I had an emotional reaction then. It has stuck with me my entire life. This is what's core to making good games, is we can not just make fun experiences, we can make emotional experiences. All right, another vignette, because I'll come back to this idea about emotional experiences in a moment. 3 days ago, literally 3 days ago, I have school-age children, and we fire up the Switch, and I fire up Super Mario Bros. 3. Anybody? Super Mario 3? Again, dating myself. But, so I play with my kids, and I hand them the controllers, and they're terrible at it. They don't know how to do it. But what was really, really powerful to me is we're on like level 1, 2, the simplest levels. Y'all come in and sit. There's plenty of room up here. It's all right. Come in, hang out. You won't disturb anybody. We're playing the simplest of levels, and my kids, they're not like in a flow state jamming, like doing the thing we do in games, but the things that appear on the screen, they are squealing in delight because they didn't know that the plant could shoot 2 fireballs instead of 1, and they didn't know you could drop behind the platform and go get a warp whistle, and all the stuff that I take for granted, but it was absolute joy. And again, a very emotional response. I think these emotional responses are a big part of the next wave of what's to come in Web3. And when people talk about games, they talk about like games as this opportunity for Web3 because of items, because of assets, and because of value, and maybe that's important, but the emotional experience of games and the potential of game design is even more important, and I'm going to talk a little bit about why that is. So again, making good games. This is core to what I'm about and what Infinity Keys is really about. We'll talk about how we get there in a minute. The reason is for engagement and adoption. So far in Web3 and crypto, there are generally two types of people. One set of people, developers, builders, and like heads who had this revelation, this experience about what Web3 transparency and composability can do. This is most of you that are here, most of you that are watching. This is people like Sergey, the Chainlink Labs team, and the people who are still here building now. You see what the potential is and what can happen, and you like have this epiphany, this wonderful moment. The other group, and that's an emotion, right? That's a powerful emotion. That keeps us here. The other group of people that have a powerful emotion are here for value. They're here because number go up, and they have emotional responses when number go up, and they have even more powerful emotional responses when number go down. This group of people is way bigger than this group of people, and that is a big problem for adoption. Now, it's part of the system. We build value into our systems. They're secure systems, so we can build value into it, but that is a fundamental problem if we're trying to leave people with an emotional experience and get them to adopt for the long term. When we talk about a user experience, it's not just a journey to get them to spend money in a new way. It's an emotional experience, and we need to think about what emotional experiences are we giving to people so we can move on to this next phase of adoption. When we talk about games and the metaverse, it's not just items and the value they have, it's the emotional experiences that we can build. If you're just coming in, my title is Web2 Data in Web3, and clearly I've totally veered off topic, but I feel passionately about this. And it's the reason that I'm building Infinity Keys, and my team is building Infinity Keys as well. I'm going to talk a little bit about what it means to make good games. I'm good on time, just checking. Hello at home, don't want to leave you out either. We've got the camera here. We create goals, rules, and objectives that are meaningful, memorable, and unique. As a game designer that comes in, your job is not to make the best economy. That's a part of it, right? Part of your token economy, when there's a game that has crypto assets or any in-game economy, is to make it fair and reasonable and something that attracts users. But it's not just about making a good economy. It's about making objectives that are meaningful, memorable. And if we can make those good, memorable moments in games, then maybe we can overshadow some of those less fortunate moments that come with a lot of other crypto. Because this space, especially in the last cycle we saw, is rife with people who are in it for value. We want to make good games, so we make good games. I'll show you where my slides are going. What do good games look like? Good games adhere to the rules. A good game designer presents the rules and then creates games that adhere to those rules so that users know what to expect. We need secure systems to be able to do this in Web3, but we also need to have a game design principle when we're building UX, especially crypto Web3-based games that adhere to the rules. And then this second point, this is really important. We need to surprise and delight players. When my kids play Super Mario Bros. 3, they laugh, peals of laughter when they die. They're failing, but they're given an opportunity to try again. They succeed, and they cheer each other on, the two that fight all the time. They still cheer each other on. When we play Psycho Mantis and figure out that moment, that's a moment of delight. Infinity Keys, we have puzzles and riddles and challenges. One of the things we've learned from our user research and our alpha testing, when you do an anagram, when you have to mix the letters up to find a word, putting in an anagram does not make people feel delighted. Figuring out that it's an anagram makes people feel delighted. So, maybe it's an anagram, and then you put it together and you figure it out. Cool, that is the experience of surprise and delight. That's the game. We need to figure out how to work more of that into Web3, especially Web3 gaming. Other elements of good games, we leave players with something learned at the end, usually something meaningful, and we make good games. We're committed to doing no intentional harm with our games. We need to do that as an industry and as a society. What are games? Games can be a lot of things. Here's a definition that I like. Here's my former professor coming out. I like this definition. Memorize it for the test. Experiences that provoke a feeling of play by working within the rules and intended spirit of the system. Provoke a feeling of play. It doesn't always have to be business in Web3. That stuff is important. It's critical. But we want to think about those emotional messages that we leave people. That feeling of play. You think back and you remember, that was a good game. Even if it's tiny, even if it's a tiny game. Oh, that was a good game. All of this should leave us with this sense of fairness and meaning in a system. Fairness and meaning, this is kind of what it all comes down to. If we can achieve this, when a world that feels fair, a metaverse that feels fair, multiple metaverses that feel fair and meaningful, there's lots of stuff to do, then we've succeeded, because now we've opened the doors wide for adoption. People feel it is a fair playing ground, they know what to do, and they know it's going to be worthwhile because it will be meaningful. They will be surprised and delighted. So this is my objective. So what is Infinity Keys? I got a few minutes here. Infinity Keys, we use Web3 to make fair and meaningful games that ideally surprise and delight players. This is our intent. So the easiest way to think about it is a treasure hunt platform. You want to make your own treasure hunts? You can come to Infinity Keys. We'll help you build the treasure hunt. But treasure hunt is a little too narrow, and so we're calling them not hunts, but challenges. There's a lot of things that we can do that are game-like, that are fun, that we can ask people to do. And so you've seen some other task-based systems out in crypto. Go retweet this, go do this multiple choice puzzle and receive reward. Those are fine and those are important, but those are not games. Our job, what we are trying to do, is create games that get people to engage with those things naturally as part of the game mechanics, and then receive rewards. At the moment, we have NFTs available as rewards. They are free, they are valueless. You may claim them if you solve the puzzle, if you beat the challenge. I challenge you to do so. In fact, we have some up. I'll talk about them a little bit later. This is the core of what Infinity Keys is really about, is we intend to make, currently we are making small games, mini games that encourage people to go through other projects' white papers, to explore the SmartCon conference, to solve riddles and have fun with each other. It's structured in a way that you receive an NFT as a reward for each puzzle, and then we go and check whether or not you've gained those NFTs and give you achievement NFTs. The next sort of step is to, instead of just give you an achievement, is we start interlacing those achievements. Okay, you've received an achievement for this SmartCon puzzle, but we also want to give you an achievement for this white paper puzzle, but we're going to require one from the SmartCon puzzle. And because things are composable, we can start requiring things across NFTs, across projects, and across puzzles, because it's a permissionless, composable, transparent system. That's the benefit of Web3 in building an integrated puzzle system. Why? Well, because then we can have these feelings of delight. If you figure out, well, this is connected over there, this is a classic Chainlink, get down the rabbit hole sink, is those feelings of delight when there is an expansive world are really valuable and will lead to those types of adoption. I don't have much time left. So I will move forward. Infinity Keys is a creation engine to enable anyone to make good games. The other cool thing we can do is, instead of just going and checking an NFT or asking you for a password, we can go and check Web2 data. What if you could only redeem a challenge at the full moon? Right? That's cool. Now we're talking about using Web2 data to pull into Web3 experiences in meaningful ways, in ways that provoke play, because the real world matters. And when there are these feelings that the real world connects with the virtual world, metaverses, multi-metaverses, the metaverse becomes much more real. It becomes deep, it becomes rich, because there's a ton of stuff to do. Think about playing your favorite RPG, Breath of the Wild, one of the greatest games of all time, if not the best. There's so much to do. You show up at a town and there's hundreds of tasks. It never ends, it feels real. We can build that with composable pieces of the system. This is what Infinity Keys is doing. At the end, we will be preparing a community-facing tool and community and governance system for builders, any of you, to create, test, and implement your own puzzles and integrate them all together. In the meantime, we are building games. You can do those puzzles and NFTs right now. We have challenges live. You can claim them. This is the one that is up for SmartCon right now. It is on infinitykeys.io. You can go to PAX, and you can see the one for SmartCon. This may be a hint if you're on the hunt. Some of you are already, I've seen on Twitter, and I appreciate that. So we're live now. You can also claim on 4 chains. We're multi-chain. You can claim on Ethereum, Optimism, Polygon, or Avalanche C chain, and more chains to come, more integrations to come, more partners to come. We're building out the questing layer of the multiple metaverse because it's deep and it's more fun. This is one of our core takeaways. There's treasure everywhere, and it's not just the assets. It's not just NFTs that number go up and number go down. The treasure is in the experiences that we have and the experiences that we create, and that includes the experiences that you can create. If you would like to talk to me about quests, challenges, Metal Gear Solid, or anything gaming related, I am available. My name is Andy Boyan. You can find me on Twitter @AndyBoyan. Thank you so much, SmartCon team, for your time, and thank all of you for listening.